Empires do not die. They become ghosts. They shed their physical bodies, their territories, their armies, their flags, and continue to exist as networked, invisible entities. They haunt the corridors of power, move capital through shell corporations, and whisper strategies into the ears of new leaders. Their presence is tracked not by the movement of battalions, but by anomalous fluctuations in financial markets and sudden, inexplicable technological breakthroughs. Today, we will track the coldest, most calculating, and most persistent ghost of the 20th century, and the ancient crypt it now inhabits. The history you are told is a convenient fiction, a story of military defeat, of tribunals, and of the total annihilation of the Third Reich. But in any analysis, the most important element is not what is shown, but what is concealed. It is officially known that between 1937 and 1939, the Reich sent at least 2 major expeditions to Antarctica. They laid claim to a territory, naming it New Swabia. Formally, Germany has never relinquished this claim. This is the first trace. Next, the end of the war. We are shown a picture of total ruin, but at the same time, the secret Führer's convoy of 35 U-boats, including the newest Type 21 ocean-class submarines, is making transoceanic voyages. The destination? That same New Swabia. The cargo? Thousands of select personnel, advanced equipment, and as some sources claim, the highest echelons of the Reich's leadership. This was not an escape. It was a methodical, planned evacuation. The Reich did not lose. It merely shed its chrysalis of steel and flesh to become an invisible, networked butterfly. It staged its own death in order to become a ghost. How can the ghost of a dead empire influence the living world? Through proxies. Through those who act in its interests, perhaps without even fully understanding whose interests they serve. Consider Norway, a nation that collaborated closely with the Reich on polar research during the war. Today, it is Norway that lays claim to the former New Swabia. It is Norway that pours colossal, disproportionate funds into Arctic and Antarctic research. Where does this money come from? The capital of a ghost does not set in a bank. It lives in the flow. Now, consider technology. After 1945, the world experiences an explosive growth in specific fields: genetic engineering, pharmacology, agricultural science. The leading global corporations in these sectors, if you trace their histories, often have roots leading back to the German industrial complex, IG Farben. The ghost did not just survive, it continued its work. The programs to create a master race and to control the food supply did not end. They simply changed the letterhead from the Honorba to the biotech startup. Its capital is not gold. Its capital is patents on seeds that yield no offspring. It is the formulas for vaccines that can alter the genetic code. It is a technology which, it is claimed, was handed to them by an even more ancient, non-human civilization. For a ghost to exist, it needs a home, a crypt, a place isolated from the world of the living. And Antarctica is the perfect crypt. The myth of a city under a dome is primitive. The reality is likely far more complex and technological. Beneath a kilometer of solid ice, the German submariners, using Tibetan maps and advanced sonar, discovered not just caves. They found a pre-existing, functioning life support system. Geothermal vents, rising from the planet's core, create subglacial oases with habitable temperatures. Subterranean rivers melting vast tunnels through the ice provide transport corridors that exit directly into the ocean. You do not need to build. You only need to occupy and improve what is already there. This system could not have formed naturally. It is a ruin. The ruin of a far more ancient civilization, one we tentatively call antediluvian. A civilization of giants and titans which perished in a global cataclysm that turned Antarctica into a frozen wasteland. Base 211, New Berlin, these are not German creations. The Germans did not build the crypt, they simply found it and occupied it. They became the new guardians of an ancient darkness.
And here we arrive at the central intelligence point. The specter of the Reich is not the only inhabitant of this crypt. It is merely the youngest and the loudest. All ancient sources speak of one thing. Before our civilization, there was another, a world of titans, of children of the gods, a world of supreme technology, a different form of energy, and a brutal hierarchy. This world was destroyed in a global cataclysm approximately 350 to 400 years ago. Remember, antiquity is the Middle Ages. Most of them perished, but some survived, in underground cities, in high mountain redoubts, and in Antarctica. These subglacial cavities with their stable temperatures and, most importantly, their preservation of the former higher atmospheric pressure became their perfect ark. They are the true masters of this world, highly advanced, living for hundreds or thousands of years, and despising our fragile, short-lived civilization. The Nazis, with their ideology of the supermen and their search for Shambhala, did not go to Antarctica by chance. It was not an expedition. It was a pilgrimage. They were answering a call. They wanted to become the heirs to an ancient power, to offer themselves as the new managers of the surface world. And it appears the masters of the crypt accepted their offer. The flying discs that attacked Admiral Byrd's fleet in 1947 were not German. The Reich did not possess such technology. They were the craft of the masters, protecting their new, ambitious tenants. So, what is the true map of the world if we discard the illusions? There are at least two global centers of power on this planet. The first is our world, the visible world, chaotic, noisy, torn apart by wars and politics that we take at face value, the world of the living. The second is the shadow center, the invisible one, the Antarctic specter, cold, calculating, unified, and its objectives. It does not participate in our wars, it creates them. It does not participate in our economy, it directs it. It does not create our technology, it disseminates it in measured doses, guiding our development in the direction it requires. This is the true Cold War, not between the United States and Russia, but between the warm, living world and the cold, dead specter that inhabits the ice crypt at the South Pole, a ghost that is slowly but surely freezing the entire planet, imposing its icy, rational, non-human will upon us. The question is not whether a Fourth Reich exists. The question is whether we realize that it has already won. End of line.